Well, if there's one thing Doctor Who has never been afraid to do, it's gleefully traumatizing children on a Saturday evening. And doing it under the polite disguise of family entertainment. It's a tradition that stretches right back to the Hartnell era, when a supposedly educational sci-fi show suddenly decided, you know what this needs? A trip to Skaro and a bunch of mutant fascists in pepper pots? And from there, it just snowballed. Autons smashing out of shop windows, giant maggots squirming over South Wales sewer-dwelling Daleks, the curse of Fenrick's vampire girls, and those giant spiders that made half the UK suddenly very interested in learning martial arts. The BBC got away with it because it was science fiction, but in reality it's been horror with a sonic screwdriver for decades. Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Daemon, and today we're crawling headfirst into one of the creepiest, most skin-crawling creations ever to ooze out of Doctor Who, the Wirrn. These aren't your run-of-the-mill space bugs. They're not just here to chomp on you and skitter away. No, the Wirrn want to become you, and they'll make sure you feel every moment of the process. The Wirrn are what happens when a BBC writer in the 1970s gets hold of the concept of parasitism and decides to dial it up to 11. Picture a creature the size of a small car, armor-plated in chitin with twitching antennae, mandibles dripping with saliva, and a mind sharper than you'd like to admit. They drift silently through space, and when they find a target world, they don't invade in armies, they infiltrate. One unfortunate life form becomes infected with their larvae, and from there the horror escalates. And here's the really nasty part. The Wirrn don't just eat their host, they absorb them. Every scrap of knowledge, every memory, every skill becomes part of the Wirrn hive mind. That's why the Wirrn in the Ark in space could open airlocks, operate machinery, and lay traps. Because it remembered how, courtesy of its last victim. You're not just dying, you're being recycled into the enemy's brain power. The more they consume, the more cunning they get. The transformation is slow enough to be cruel. In the Ark in space, we saw poor Noah fighting, literally fighting against the insect mind taking over his body. His voice breaking, his skin bubbling with green slime, his arm hardening into an insect limb. You could still hear the man underneath, and that made it so much worse. It's not a clean death, it's a conscious one. Now that's all horrific enough in a single story, but here's where the missed potential comes in. The Ark in space played like a bottle episode. Imagine stretching the Wirrn horror into a full modern 3-part mini-series. No Doctor, just 3 episodes of escalating paranoia, body horror, and survival. The salvage ship, Sable Crown, is a patchwork vessel held together by duct tape, skill and desperation. Its crew, a mix of ex-miners, smugglers and drifters, live from job to job. When the distress call from Gryphon's Rest comes through, it's mostly static. One word repeats every 30 seconds, warped and low-pitched. Help! The colony is a frozen ruin. Dust drifts through the air like falling ash, lights flicker, power grids hum, and wind whistles through cracked bulkheads. In the mess hall, plates of congealed food sit beside overturned chairs. In one room, a datapad still plays a child's cartoon on loop. No child in sight. Then they find her, a woman in her late 20s, hair hanging in front of her face, muttering something in a cracked whisper. When she turns, her eyes are black from corner to corner, yet she smiles like she recognizes them. She says each of their names, perfectly. More colonists emerge from the shadows. Some are eerily calm. Others are frozen in place, their bodies trembling as if trying to resist an unseen force. The ship's medic notices something, tiny, almost invisible puncture wounds behind the ear of every survivor. The survivors' stories are, well, inconsistent. Some talk about events decades old, while others just repeat the same sentence over and over again. One of them hums a lullaby that, Oddly enough, the ship's engineer swears only his dead sister knew, and then there's this boy, about 10 years old, who recites the salvage captain's naval service record, word for word, dates and all. Quite eerie, isn't it? The colony's AI has been acting up, triggering random lockdowns all over the place. Airlocks open into freezing winds and life support malfunctions at what some might call coincidental moments. It's almost as if someone is testing their responses, trying to see how they react. Down in the mining tunnels, they stumble upon a wall of translucent resin, surprisingly warm to the touch. Inside, shapes move. Distorted silhouettes of human forms, locked mid-convulsion, their skin stretched into glossy, segmented plates. The smell, well, it's like ammonia mixed with rotting meat. Quite the unsettling discovery, wouldn't you say? When one shape shifts suddenly, scraping its claws against the inside of its prison, the crew opens fire out of pure panic. The bullets crack the resin, and from the split oozes a thick, pale fluid crawling with something alive. The biologist finally puts a name to it, Wirrn. Not a parasite, not exactly. They inject their young into a living host, consuming them slowly while using their nervous system to rewrite them from the inside out. By the time the shell cracks, the host is gone. But their memories, skills and knowledge live on in the new creature. Every victim makes the swarm more dangerous. The incubation period varies. Some change in hours, others in days. The crew begins to eye each other constantly. Any twitch, stumble, or moment of forgetfulness becomes cause for suspicion. Trust collapses. At night, sounds echo through the base. The skitter of many legs against metal. Whispers. Sometimes it's the voice of a loved one calling from somewhere deep in the tunnels. Sometimes it's the sound of a crew member's voice when that crew member is standing right next to you. The Wirrn don't just hide, they infiltrate. Newly turned hosts walk among the living, their features just a little too stiff, their speech slightly too perfect. They can pass for human long enough to sabotage systems to lure others into the dark. The surviving crew form a desperate plan, overheat the colony's generator core and fry every living thing inside. They wire explosives along the main ventilation shaft, knowing the Wirrn need oxygenated flow to spread their scent markers. But you see, the Hive has learned far too much. Using the voices of the crew's dead, they call out over the PA system, begging for rescue and, well, revealing truths about betrayals and secrets lurking in the crew's past. One crewmate just breaks and runs off to rescue someone, only to, vanish into the dark. When they find him again, his eyes are black and he's disturbingly smiling. The detonation just tears right through, the complex fire boiling through the Hive tunnels and resin blistering into ash. The surviving crew, they limp back to the Sable Crown, battered, bloody, but yeah, alive. They don't notice the cargo drone that detached during all that chaos, just slipping silently into space. Inside its sealed pod, there's a single Wirrn egg, glistening. It pulses faintly, as if, well, listening. Without the doctor, without any sort of miracle fix, the Wirrn are, honestly, unstoppable. Every infected person is a permanent loss, and every loss just makes the enemy stronger. The horror here is, well, threefold. First, there's body horror, seeing familiar faces slowly morph into alien predators, and knowing deep down that their consciousness is being overwritten. Then there's psychological horror, the constant suspicion of friends, and the fear that honestly anyone could already be gone. Hopelessness, the knowledge that even if you burn one hive, another egg could be halfway to a new world. This isn't just an alien monster story. It's an infection of identity, a creeping erasure of what makes you, you. The Wirrn are the perfect example of a Doctor Who monster with untapped potential. They're pure nightmare fuel, a blend of alien-style body horror, the Thing-style paranoia, and invasion of the body snatchers-style identity theft. Give them a modern production budget, a slow-burn structure, and the kind of creepy personal stakes that keep people awake at night, and you'd have one of the scariest runs in the show's history. But no, instead they've been left in the toy box for decades. Which is a shame, because these bugs deserve to bite again. Thanks for dropping by the snake pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, like the video, and leave your opinions in the comments, where naturally I won't read them. Till next time, stay venomous.